This is the MTPredictor weekly update for June 3rd. Again, just take us through the S&P. This is the S&P mini actually. The daily chart, because remember we had our major top that we're looking at, and we're expecting a correction, I said at that point, and then expecting the markets to go on to a new high. And remember we had the Dow did go to a new high in this area. The Dow made a new high, but the S&P failed, and that's when that set up. Remember I said the Dow made a new high, but the ES didn't. What does that mean? Well, it meant that the potential was that we're going to go wave 3 down here, and so I projected wave 3 down, and that's when I said we could see the S&P at 1300. And of course, you know, obviously this did play out, and then once we hit this area, you know, we projected up wave 4 in the weekly market update, and I said this is where we should pull back to. Okay, we came up into this area, and then it was a couple weeks ago, and then we projected wave 5 down, and we ended up, you know, following the pattern that we expected. Now these don't always play out the way you expect them to. Here's our minimum wave 5 target, which I said was right around that 1290 area. So we hit that on Friday, and we've completed the 5-wave pattern down. Now we still have some strength on the STF here to the downside, so we're going to have to watch that. We got a high volume spike here. If we can close Monday with a blue buyer's candle there, then perhaps the buyers, maybe some professional buying stepping in here, we should expect then a correction back to the wave 4 DP in this area, just above 1340 in the S&P. You know, not tomorrow obviously, but it should work its way back there. If, however, this STF remains showing strength, we don't get any professional buying, no blue candle close on Monday or Tuesday, let's say, this week, and we still have strength at the downside, we could roll over and see you know, this typical wave 5 area, just around that 1260 area, maybe just below that. So we'll see how things unfold. Not a heavy, you know, we don't have any Fed meetings or anything like that this coming week. It's kind of a regular schedule of economic data. So we'll see how the market fares as now we head into June, kind of getting into the summer. Things tend to slow up, though we've had some summers that have been quite active, you know, depending on what's going on in this country, around the world, and so forth. So we'll have to see how this plays out. But anyway, this sequence could be complete. We'll see how we close early in the week. If we get buyers overcoming sellers early in the week based on the high volume spike here, telling us that this could be, this volume here on Friday could be buying volume. We need to see that confirmed though. So we'll see how that plays out, and then just bring in the Euro US dollar here. This is the weekly chart of the Euro. You can see it has gone wave 5 down there. We've got a decision point buy signal. You see it's open now, trading at 124.05. We'll see if this low holds, the low there at 22.87. We're in that typical, just about in that typical wave 5 support area. Again, typically we would expect a correction back to the wave 4 DP. In this area, it's above 3,600, and you know, so we'll see. But let's just look at the dollar index, because again, there's our major low. Here's the last swing into that low. Take a decision point off of that, and again, I'd be looking for this area. Now, if the euro finds support, then we may get a correction here to the downside in the dollar. Our next, we don't really have a clear pattern here in the weekly. Well, you got actually a little three wave in there, so if the euro finds support, we may get a little correction. Let's just project wave 4 down. It'll give us the next area of support right in here, just below 82. And then below that, we can take a decision point here, just around 78. And then, of course, this area up here is the ultimate, I guess, target, if you will. This should be major resistance in the U.S. dollar if we can get there. So we're getting closer. Again, we've been looking for this area, you know, way back here. Once this low was put in, and we took the decision point off of this last swing, so it's been out there for a while. And you know, this was an area I remember Jim Rogers saying that he was a buyer of the U.S. dollar, just because everybody was so pessimistic on it. So he started buying there, and you know, of course, he's not the greatest timer in the world, but you know, he certainly was right on that. And of course, our software was telling us that this could potentially be a major bottom with a nice high volume spike right at the DP level, with the blue buyers candle telling us the buyers are overcoming the sellers there, and that was a major turning point here in the dollar. And let's bring in the gold chart. So gold did pull back a little further, may have found some support later in the week there. In the last few weeks, no new low, and there's the next major support there. But again, we're just below the 50 period. Again, if we go back, this has been typically a major buying opportunity. Now this one was, again, the crash of 08 in the stock market, and we got a major buy signal down at the 200 period moving average on the weekly chart. But all these others that were just below the 50 period, above the 200 period, were all good, you know, buying opportunities where professionals tend to look to buy gold in this case, or silver. And so this is what we have now. We've got a couple of opportunities to be buyers of gold here. The 200 period is down here. If we, you know, if the stock market, as we looked at the S&P, if that does have more downside, you know, we'll have to see, you know, do we get a similar pullback like we did here in the crash? Does this kind of unhinge at some point with the stock market? We'll see. If we can, I guess, look at silver. Well, another weekly buy signal here in silver. Put the analysis on that. The target would be at 36.38. Your next support. All right. Again, we talked about the danger, and I didn't put a lot of weight on it because this is the silver. It's a smaller market, and it gets pushed around a little easier. But because this was a significant high back here, this could potentially be wave 1 into wave 2, and again, I projected wave 3 down, you know, similar to what we had on the daily chart of the S&P. All right, so again, that would put us, you know, basically around $15 in silver. So we'll have to watch that. If this goes down, you know, if this does go down, that means gold is probably down around its 200 period moving average on the weekly chart. So it's a possibility. Again, I don't put a lot of weight on it, on the pattern silver, and you know, this was $50, which is a recent high, but silver was really, you know, nowhere near its all-time highs. We go back to like the 1300s. You know, silver was in today's dollars, well, probably in, you know, 1998 or $2,000. It was sitting around probably 1,500 silver. So, if you know, people get excited about $50 silver, but it's a recent high back from the 80s, but not historically. It's been much higher. And that, of course, coincided in the 1300s there with the European banking crisis. So interesting stuff. Anyway, We'll see how these continue to unfold, and keep our eye. Again, not a lot of economic data this week, so we'll see how the rest of these play out. Maybe just take a look at one other we haven't taken a look at in a bit here. Let's just look at oil. You know, that was the last sell signal we looked at, and it continues to slide here. Let me just see on the weekly chart where we are. Kind of in the middle of no man's land here. Here's our next weekly major support on the weekly, which would take you below 75, probably around $73 oil. Let me just peek at the daily again. And your last target would just be about $80. You can see the strength on the STF. You know, we can go back here. Oops. And here, the STF was telling there was more downside in oil, and that anybody short this could be short using the trailing stop. And at this point, your stop would be sitting around 90.86 in oil. We got a high volume spike here, the blue buyer's candle. So we'll see if we get some professional buying to come in at this level here, or maybe around this $80 level. We'll see. All right, so we'll just leave it there, wrap it up, and I wish you all a good trading week, and we'll be back, take a look and see what's going on next week.